Hello, how are you, my students? I hope all of you are well. Today we will start a new unit, Unit 8, A Hug for a Life, course book page number 92 and 93. The outcomes of this video are: number 1, read the text correctly, understand the meaning of the text. قراءة النص قراءة صحيحة وأيضا فهم معنى النص. Please, my students, open your course book, page number 92 and 93. Here, my students, as we said that this is Unit 8 and the title of the unit. Can you tell me, my students, what is the title of the unit? Very good. A hug for a life. A hug for a life. What is the meaning of hug? What is the meaning of hug? Hug, عناق. Hug, عناق. So, hug is a noun that means عناق. Hug, hug. For a life. Life, حياة. Life, حياة. Okay. Before we start, my students, let's listen to the audio and please try to follow on your course book.
Unit 8, A Hug for Life. Saving Grandma's Tree. Heidi spends every afternoon collecting firewood in the forest and talking to an old ash tree on the mountainside. Heidi and Grandma had often sat together under the old ash tree. That was before Grandma was swept away in a great flood. One day, as she sits under the tree and thinks of Grandma, Heidi hugs the tree and says, "You're my best friend." Her thoughts are broken as she sees some dusty trucks slow down to a stop. They are filled with men carrying axes. Heidi runs back to the village and straight to her mother. She tells her mother that men from the timber company have arrived with axes to cut down the trees. Mother runs out to alert the other women of the village. Each woman picks up a drum. Together, like an army, they march into the forest to save their trees. "Save the trees! Save the trees!" echoes through the woods. "Hug the trees!" the women cry. Arms around the smooth bark, they hold on to the trees so that the men cannot cut them down. The men look at one another and wonder what to do. The women tell them that if the trees are cut, the soil will become loose and there will be a landslide. The whole mountainside will come down on the village. That is what happened when Grandma was killed. A landslide blocked the river. It caused a flood that killed Grandma and about 200 others. One man who had lost his mother in the flood throws his axe down. All the men climb back into the truck. The big boss reluctantly joins them, having lost a chance to get resin, timber, and foreign exchange.
After we listen to the audio, let's understand the text, my students. Before we start, what is the type of the text? What is the type of the text? نوع النص. Excellent. This is a story. So, the type of the text is a story. Story, قصة. Story, قصة. So, again, the type of the text is a story. The type of the text is a story. What is the title of the text? What is the title of the text? Good. This is the title, my students. Saving Grandma's Tree. Saving grandma's tree. عنوان القصة saving grandma's tree. Saving here my students أنقذ. Saving grandma's tree. أنقذ شجرة جدتي. أنقذ شجرة جدتي. So the title of the story saving grandma's tree. Saving ينقذ. Saving ينقذ. Okay, look at the picture. What can you see in this page? Look at the pictures. Excellent. Here we have a tree and here we have a girl and she is carrying wood. Look, here we have a girl and she is carrying wood. تحمل الخشب. And here my students, here we have a truck. This is a truck. شاحنة. A truck. Okay, what is this story and what is talking about and إيش تتكلم? Let's read each paragraph and understand the meaning. Paragraph number 1. Heidi spends every afternoon collecting firewood in the forest and talking to an old ash tree on the mountainside. Heidi and Grandma had often sat together under the old ash tree. That was before Grandma was swept away in a great flood. Okay, from this paragraph, can you tell me what is the name of the girl? What is the name of the girl? Excellent. The name of the girl is Heidi. So, the name of the girl is Heidi. اسم البنت Heidi. Heidi spends every afternoon collecting firewood in the forest and talking to an old ash tree on the mountainside. So, Heidi, this girl, she spends every afternoon, spends يمضي أو يقضي, spends يقضي, spends يقضي. Every afternoon وقت الظهيرة. كيف بتقضي وقت الظهيرة هايدي؟ collecting, number 1, collecting firewood in the forest. تجمع الخشب للنار. collecting يجمع firewood الخشب in the forest. تجمع الخشب من الغابة. And number 2, she is talking to an old ash tree in the mountain, on the mountainside. تتحدث talking يتكلم يتحدث talking to an old ash tree. تتحدث مع مين؟ to an old ash tree شجرة الرماد القديمة on the mountain side على سفح الجبل. So again my students, how does Heidi spend every afternoon her time? How does she spend her time? كيف تقضي وقتها afternoon? She does 2 things. تعمل شغلتين. Number 1, collecting firewood in the afternoon. تجمع الخشب. collecting wood in the afternoon. تجمع الخشب من الغابة. Number 2, so this is number 1. So my students, this is number 1, collecting firewood in the forest. تجمع الخشب من الغابة. And number 2, talking to an old ash. تتحدث مع شجرة الرماد القديمة on the mountain side. mountain side سفح الجبل. mountain side سفح الجبل. mountain side سفح الجبل. ash tree شجرة الرماد. ash tree شجرة الرماد. Let's continue. Heidi and Grandma had often sat together under the old ash tree. So, Heidi and Grandma جدتها had often sat together يجلسوا معا under the old ash tree تحت الشجرة الرماد القديمة. That was before Grandma was swept away in a great flood. Swept away جرف بعيدا. Swept away جرف بعيدا. Swept away جرف بعيدا. Flood فيضان. Flood فيضان. Flood فيضان. Swept away جرف بعيدا. Flood فيضان. So Heidi and Grandma sat together. كانت تجلس مع جدتها تحت شجرة الرماد القديمة قبل أن تجرف جدتها بالفيضان. So Heidi's grandma was swept away. جرفت بعيدا. Swept away in a great flood. جرفت بعيدا بالفيضان. So we will understand that grandma now she is died. So again, Heidi's grandma was swept away in the great flood. جرفت بالفيضان. Okay, again, how does Heidi spend her time? كيف كانت تقضي وقتها? Two things. Number one, collecting firewood in the forest. كانت تجمع الخشب من الغابة. And number two, talking to an old ash tree on the mountain side. تتحدث مع شجرة الرماد القديمة على سفح الجبل. Mountain side. سفح الجبل. Mountain side. سفح الجبل. Heidi and Grandma sat together under this tree. كانوا يجلسوا تحت هذه الشجرة. شجرة الرماد القديمة. Old ash tree. Old ash tree. شجرة الرماد القديمة. Before Grandma was swept away. Swept away جرف بعيدا in a flood. Flood فيضان. Let's continue. What happened next? Let's see. One day, as she sits under the tree and thinks of Grandma, Heidi hugs the tree and says, "You're my best friend." One day, في يوم من الأيام, as she. Who is she? Here we have a pronoun. Who is she? Excellent. She refers to Heidi. She refers to Heidi. So again, she here refers to Heidi, the name of the girl. One day, as she sits under the tree, يوم من الأيام كانت تجلس جالسة تحت الشجرة and thinks يفكر of Grandma. كانت تفكر بجدتها. Heidi hugs the tree. حضنت الشجرة. hugs يحضن. hugs يحضن. hugs يحضن أو يعانق. hugs يحضن أو يعانق the tree and says, "You are my best friend." Heidi talks to the tree. تتحدث مع الشجرة and she says, "You are my best friend." أنت أفضل صديقة عندي. She talks to the tree. تتحدث مع الشجرة. Which tree? Excellent. The ash tree. شجرة الرماد. That she sat with her grandma under it. كانت تجلس تحتها هي وجدتها. So in this paragraph, Heidi sits under the tree. تجلس تحت الشجرة and she says to the tree, "You are my best friend." حدثت مع الشجرة وقالت لها بأنها أفضل صديقة. Paragraph number 3. Her thoughts are broken as she sees some dusty trucks slow down to a stop. They are filled with men carrying axes. Her thoughts are broken. أفكارها تشتتت. Why? لماذا؟ So her thoughts are broken. Heidi's thoughts أفكار هايدي تشتتت as she. Here my students we have she again refers to Heidi. She the pronoun refers to Heidi. تعود على Heidi. She sees some dusty trucks slow down to stop. Dusty trucks شاحنات. Dusty truck شاحنات مغبرة. شاحنات مغبرة. Dusty trucks شاحنات مغبرة. So her thoughts أفكارها تشتتت عندما رأت الشاحنات المغبرة تقف تمشي ببطء حتى إنها تتوقف. They are. They the pronoun they refers to. Very good. Refers to the dusty trucks. Trucks plural. They refers to the plural pronoun. وتعود على اسم جمع. So they refers to the trucks. Trucks. They refers to the trucks. تعود على trucks. They are filled with men carrying axes. These trucks my students هاي الشاحنات مليئة بالرجال. من رجال carrying axes. These men carrying axes يحملوا الفأس أو الفؤوس. axes. axe فأس axes الفؤوس. So the trucks الشاحنات or the dusty trucks الشاحنات المغبرة مليئة بالرجال الذي يحملون الفؤوس. Okay my students, why are the men carrying axes? Why do you think that the men carrying axes? ليش برأيك الرجال بيحملوا الفأس؟ Maybe, excellent, maybe they will cut the trees. ممكن إنهم يقطعوا الأشجار. We will know the answer of this question. نعرف نتأكد من إجابة هذا السؤال إن شاء الله at the end of the story. بنهاية القصة. So here again they refers to the trucks. They refers to the plural noun. بتعود على اسم جمع. Here trucks. Trucks. Let's continue. Let's see what does Heidi do. إيش عملت؟ Heidi runs back to the village and straight to her mother. She tells her mother that men from the timber company have arrived with axes to cut down the trees. Heidi runs back to the village. ركضت إلى القرية. رجعت إلى القرية and straight to her mother. وذهبت إلى والدتها. So she runs back to the village. Village قرية. Village قرية and straight to her mother. مباشرة ذهبت لأمها. She tells. She again and again the pronoun she refers to Heidi. The pronoun she refers to Heidi. يعود على Heidi. She tells تخبر. She tells her mother تخبر أمها that men from the timber company. Timber, my students, the meaning of timber is wood. Timber, wood, خشب. Timber, wood, خشب. Timber, wood, خشب. Timber, wood, خشب. Company, شركة. Company, شركة. So, that men from the timber company have arrived. Arrived وصل. Arrived وصل. So, Heidi tells her mother أخبرت والدتها بأنه رجال من شركة الخشب or timber wood خشب have arrived وصلوا with axes to cut down the trees as we expect. The men come to cut down the trees. هذه الرجال سوف تقطع الأشجار. cut down يقطع. cut down يقطع الأشجار. Now my students, I will focus on the meaning. رح أركز على المعاني. English, Arabic. Then we will find out noun, adjective and verb. رح نستخرج verb فعل، adjective صفة، noun اسم. Here mountain side. mountain side سفح الجبل. mountain side سفح الجبل. forest غابة. forest غابة. spends يقضي. spends يقضي. ash tree شجرة الرماد. ash tree شجرة الرماد. swept away. swept away جرف بعيدا. swept away جرف بعيدا. flood. flood فيضان. flood فيضان. things يفكر. things يفكر. thoughts أفكار. thoughts أفكار. dusty trucks شاحنات مغبرة. dusty trucks شاحنات مغبرة. here also village قرية. village قرية. timber wood خشب. timber خشب. company شركة. company شركة. arrived وصل. arrived وصل. cut down. cut down قطع. cut down قطع. Now my students, let's find out noun, adjectives and verbs with each other. نستخرج مع بعض noun, adjectives, verb and we will use colors. نستخدم ألوان. I will start with the red color to find out nouns. حتى نستخرج nouns اسم. Okay, give me nouns. يلا. Which with each other. Okay, excellent. Number one, Heidi. Heidi is a noun. Heidi is a noun. Good. Life. Life is a noun. Very good. Life is a noun. Forest. Forest is a noun too. غابة. Firewood is a noun. Tree. Good. Tree noun. Grandma. Good. Grandma is a noun. Yes, what else? What else? Flood. Flood is a noun too. Flood. Mountainside is a noun too. These are nouns. So Heidi, firewood, tree, mountainside, forest, grandma, flood. We have another. Friend. Very good. Friend is a noun. Friend is a noun. Okay, what else? Trucks. Trucks is a noun too. Trucks. Men. Very good. Men. Axes. Axes is a noun. Village. Village noun. Mother. Here we have men too. Company. Timber is a noun. And here we have the trees. Okay, now I will use the green color to find out verb. Verb. So the green color for the verb. للاسم. للفعل. Verb. فعل. Let's start. So spend is a verb. Good. يقضي. Collecting is a verb. يجمع. Talking is a verb too. Excellent. Let's see where is the verb. Sat. جلس. It's a verb too. Excellent. Yes, here was, my student, is a verb. It's a verb to be was. Was is a verb. Swept. Swept is a verb. What else? Here things تفكر. It's a verb. Sees. يرى. It's a verb. Broken. It's a verb too. Hugs is a noun. يعني يحضن ويعانق. Says. It's a verb. It's a verb. Hugs. And here we have arrived. Is a verb. Cut down. يقطع. Verb. And here we have filled. Here we have runs, tells. Now, what about the adjective? And I will use the blue color for the adjective. صفة, adjective, صفة. Here we have old. Old is an adjective, صفة, قديم. And here we have dusty, مغبر. It's an adjective. It's an adjective too. Here we have, can you tell me if there is an adjective, my students? Best, excellent. Best is an adjective. Best friend is an adjective. And the great here is an adjective too. So, my students, in this video we understand the paragraphs and we find out the adjective, the verb and the noun, and we understand the English Arabic meaning for the new words. Thank you for listening, and we will continue the next page for the next video. Thank you.